Welcome, everyone. I'm Cornelia Santschi, part of the NCMC teaching team. And for me, this is the fourth in a series of short meditations that have been designed to help us reconnect and stay centered in the midst of all that's pushing us towards groundlessness these days. It originally started as part of the Be Still Mondays meditation series, and now we've been fortunate enough to continue, and welcome. Thanks for being here. Today we'll focus on strengthening inner resources, and these are resources inherent to all of us to help us reconnect with our natural wellness and balance. And we'll also, at the end, provide some external resources that are super helpful in times of great turmoil. Staying embodied, which we've been talking a lot about lately, in touch and reflective with our physical being, is often a very useful instruction when things feel turbulent. And when we get caught up in thoughts, stories, emotions. But what about when turning toward embodied experience just doesn't feel safe? Maybe even dangerous. There are times in our lives when we're caught in a storm of truly difficult emotions, when our feelings are so strong that being mindful does not seem even remotely possible. This can happen in the grip of all kinds of intense emotions: fear, anger, grief, despair, and surely with trauma and panic. It's quite likely, actually, that many of us have been carrying these in varying degrees, unique combinations and infinite varieties these days. Have you noticed in the events of recent months how your body has been responding? There may have been at times a sense of overwhelm, of hypervigilance, of panic, rage, hopelessness, exhaustion, shame. When we've been traumatized, our coping strategies overwhelmed, our sympathetic nervous system is frayed. We're no longer able to fight or flee, and that leaves us feeling frozen, essentially powerless. The experience of trauma gets locked in our bodies, only to resurface when we find ourselves in similar situations or when we're exposed to reminders of the initial trauma. If we try to open directly to the raw experience, we might end up re-experiencing that frozen, helpless feeling that then again reinforces the trauma. So we end up in this exacerbating cycle that doesn't allow us free of the grip of what caused the harm in the first place. We don't want to push away suffering, but nor do we want to drown in it. So intentional activation of inner resources like stability, like safety, like connectedness can really, really help at times like these. As Tara Brach points out, these strategies can be considered mindfulness precursors. Similarly, when we're experiencing intense fear, anger, shame, despair, it can help to pause and purposefully create a refuge for ourselves, to find that sense of security or connection. And this then helps us find our way back to allowing mindful presence with what's here. It enables us to move through the difficulty with more clarity, with more balance. So there are many ways to create this refuge, to find refuge and access our inner resources in a moment. And some of them are bringing to mind your people who can give you a sense of safety or connection. Visualizing a place where you feel safe or have felt safe in the past. Bringing to mind situations when you felt confident and strong. It may be mentally repeating a message to yourself, a message of safety, of love. It may be using your breath or touch to calm and balance yourself, give yourself a hug, feel yourself grounded by connecting with the earth through your feet. This one is especially good for moving and walking, being outside in a safe space in nature. So while these are all really good, helpful strategies, it's best to practice them when we're not triggered. This way, when we're caught up in strong emotions, we already have some skill in accessing these supportive inner states, and they'll be more available to us more quickly. Another helpful practice taught by Pema Chodron is called compassionate abiding. This is a strategy that helps take us out of our mental storyline and bring us gently back into our direct experience with a lot of kindness. She also describes this as a precursor practice. It starts by connecting the current emotion with where it's experienced in the body. The emotion doesn't have a name, the part of the body doesn't have to have a name. You just need to breathe in with it, allowing lots of space. When we're caught in strong emotions, it's a very constricting feeling. It's tight. So allowing a lot of space, as much as is needed for the feeling to be held, is very, very important. Breathing in with a feeling of opening to the emotion with warmth and kindness. Imagining the heart growing as large as is needed to accommodate. Or imagining breathing into infinite space in all directions. Just however big this needs to be, there is space for it. And on the out-breath, a deep sigh of release, of relaxation is what's indicated. And you need to do this more than once. Really need to be with it. There are many, many ways to personalize this, and as many as we are individuals, so you can find what feels safe and appropriate for you. Pema Chodron uses the image of placing the fearful mind in the cradle of loving kindness. And you can substitute any emotion for fear here. But you can just imagine this sense of cradling, this holding, the comfort in that, the connection in that. As you breathe in with this practice, some things you might imagine are the faces of a loved one smiling at you. The view from the top of a mountain, overseeing all of it, above it all. Facing the ocean from the beach. These are all ways to feel connected with something larger. The inherent view behind this practice is that wisdom is inherent in emotions. And Pema gives the analogy, if free-flowing water is an open heart mind, then these intense emotions are blocks of ice, to be warmed with kindness, to release that water. So our natural state is the free-flowing water, and we have the resources to melt the ice if we allow ourselves to be touched by it, right? You don't want to throw the ice cube away. You want to free the water inside it. A more traditional analogy might be an alchemical one. The gold isn't found outside, but you need to go through the base metal to get to it. It's already there. Well, research has confirmed the power of imagination to make us feel connected to others in a supportive way. When we envision seeing a loved one, the same neurons fire in our brain as when we're actually seeing them. So imagination is a useful tool that we can use to generate resources of safety and support to help get through overwhelming emotions. Of course, the more we cultivate a resource, the more stable and available it becomes. Right? Where attention goes, energy flows. Neurons that fire together, wire together. When we repeatedly direct our minds towards thoughts and memories that evoke feelings of connection, strength, the structure of our brain is altered. We're creating new neural connections that can serve as channels to support healing and well-being and bringing that out from within. So, how about we try? This is a practice adapted from Tara Brach, and it will give you a sense of how these inner resources can be connected on our own. This is a practice that can be done sitting, lying down, walking, any posture that feels comfortable and stable for you. So find a comfortable position. And just take a few moments to relax any obvious tension in the body. Settling in. And as we do this practice, if it feels at any point too intense, just touch the ground. Use your tactile sense in your breath and step back. Use your wisdom. See if you can bring to mind a situation that is somewhat triggering for you, that brings up strong emotions. And become aware of the part of you that feels most reactive or most vulnerable. Just sense into that. Sense what this part of the body, this part of you, needs most to feel supported. Maybe it's safety, maybe love, maybe strength, maybe calm, maybe acknowledgement. Honoring that. See if there is a space, maybe a sacred space that you sense would help you connect with your inner resources. You might visualize a place that's beautiful, comforting, and safe. It could be a place that you know, or one that you're imagining. Could be a place in nature, in the mountains, or by the ocean, in the woods. Or perhaps it's a beautiful sanctuary, or a place in your home that's deeply familiar and that you love. You can create this. It's your space. Let yourself visualize and sense this place. And feel yourself transported there. Imagine resting comfortably and taking in the surroundings, fully absorbing them with all your senses. The colors, the warmth, coolness, the sounds. The feeling of the earth or the floor beneath you, holding you. Let this feeling of sacred space fully surround you so that you really feel a sense of belonging. You are at home here. You are safe. You are welcome. And as you experience your space, sense who might be a comforting or loving presence to connect with here. Bring to mind maybe someone you know personally that's kind and loving and wise. Maybe a family member or friend, a child, a teacher, maybe a pet. It could be someone you know personally, alive now, or perhaps an inspiring ancestor or a spiritual figure. Sense who shows up, who brings the most ease and connection, safety, strength. Call on that being, welcome them in, and sense them responding, present, right there with you. Let yourself feel in your body that presence, that sense of increased safety and connection that this being brings. What is it like? What sensations are present? Can you sense an opening, a sense of ease? As you feel this being's presence, allow your breath to slow and lengthen, letting in comfort, ease, exhaling slowly, letting go of tension. You can gently place your hand on your heart or maybe your belly, communicating tenderness through touch, breathing in comfort, exhaling tension. Breathing in exactly what is needed to feel safe, connected, calm, soothing. Breathe out everything that's not needed or not helpful. Sense if there are any words that might help accentuate this feeling for you. If there is a message to yourself or a blessing of care. If something comes to mind, see how it feels to just mentally whisper that to your heart. Gently allow the images, the words, to just fade into the surround. Letting them go peacefully, knowing the essence stays. And just rest. See if you can be aware of a growing sense of groundedness, of connection, of relaxation, of well-being, in whatever measure it shows up. And just take a few moments to absorb all of this and know that whatever resources you are finding in this practice, in this moment, they were already here, part of your deep, natural inner wisdom. This is who you are. This awareness, this connection, this knowing, this loving being. The more you visit these resources, the more available they will be for you when you need them most. And when you feel ready, if your eyes have been closed, gently open them. Connect yourself with the present moment and time in this space. Thank you for sharing this space and time with me. Just want to take a moment to acknowledge the need for outer resources as well. Sometimes when the emotions get so strong and there seems no end in sight, we can feel very, very alone, but we're not. This too is part of being human, and it's important to reach out and connect. We all need that from one another. So we have a list of resources. There are a couple of documents to share, including practical coping guidance, some of the inner resource development that I talked about, as well as local mental health resources. Probably the most important, especially as we're collectively still figuring out this new normal in terms of COVID-19, is maintaining our supportive connections. As the very wise Larry Ward puts it, creating communities of resilience, of kindness, of openness, of generosity, of sanity, of love. Please do reach out to those communities of resilience that serve you. I hope that we at NCMC can help hold that space for you through our variety of programming, from these virtual community programs to the weekly sitting group, the individual mentoring that we're offering. Please keep in touch. We're here. Stay connected, stay safe, and stay well. Much love.